Hi everyone, I'm Molly Green from Solar Power Portal. I'm at the Clean Power 2030 Summit in London and I'm joined by Rob Stait, who works for Alight. Could you tell us a bit about what Alight does?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Managing Director for Alight BTM, which is the half of Alight that provides direct, dedicated solar and storage to commercial industrial customers. Alight itself also operates as an independent power producer, so an IPP, and has over 0.5 gigawatt of utility scale grid connected projects in the Nordics. Where it is actually the largest IPP. But our behind the meter business operates in the UK, where we have a substantial footprint, and also in Poland, France, and in Spain.
So in the UK, obviously the government is on a big push for renewable energy. Has that kind of translated through to the conversations that you're having with customers?
It's certainly a key driver for large C&I to adopt renewables is the policy pressure. I think electricity prices is also another key element. Fragility of public grids is also a problem, but possibly the biggest driver for C&I is still a transition towards electrifying their processes and moving away from fossil fuels as their main energy supply.
And is that electrification driven by a desire to decarbonise or the economics?
It's both, and clearly sustainability targets are important for large C&I, particularly given their customer's customer, the end customer for whom renewables and sustainability is still important. But price as well is a really strong factor. Solar and storage is still the cheapest means of accessing new electricity supply, and it's the fastest to install as well if you're installing behind the meter and avoiding the public grids.
And do you find that C&I customers that you have a positive attitude towards renewables, or do you think that attitude is beginning to shift sort of as the politics does turn away from renewables too?
Yeah, I think businesses tend to be inherently pragmatic, and I think the speed of deployment and the cost benefits of solar and storage means that large-scale corporates are really keen to adopt behind-the-meter renewable supply and to adopt at scale. It just makes perfect sense. But obviously we know that the macroeconomic and political climate at the moment isn't hugely favourable, with Trump and Farage dominating the headlines. So there is this concept and this word that I quite like called green hushing, where corporates continue to adopt and to transition, but just don't talk about it that much.
Interesting. Well, I suppose that's also seen in, I think there's been a shift away from discussion of decarbonising, even though that may still be a motivator. But now the focal point is very much the cost savings that it offers. When you're talking to prospective customers, do you find that that is what resonates more? Or
I think that would be common for every single deployment, is that everyone wants to maximise their savings. And they recognise the opportunity that a transition to solar and storage will deliver for them. But there are other factors as well. And if you look at the end consumer, despite Trump and Farage and this beating drum that we need to go back to North Sea and drill baby drill, actually the public is still overwhelmingly in favour of renewables. And the last UK government public attitudes tracker showed that still about 80% of people favour renewable investment. So it is still important for grants, and sustainability is still a strong selection criteria for grants.
interesting. And what is available for those brands in terms of support from the government?
Yeah, good question. And in the UK, we've had the energy intensive industries subsidy scheme for a while, which something like 500 businesses can access, and that's helpful. It reduces the exposure to non-commodity price increases and helps with the increases in the commodity price itself. But now the government is interestingly expanding that scheme with something called BICS, B-I-C-S. And there's a proposal out at the moment that will mean that about 10,000 businesses can then access more support and more savings on their bill. Unfortunately, at the moment, the proposal only applies to the element that they buy from the grid. So if businesses have already shifted and transitioned to adopting renewables, that consumption is not going to be factored into BICS subsidies. So we're lobbying to change that, because it wouldn't cost the Treasury any more to expand the scheme to the renewable elements as well. And what we don't want to see is that BICS works as a disincentive to adopt renewables in the future. We can achieve both ends. So hopefully the government sees sense on that and we can get that proposal changed.
All right, great. Thanks, Rob.